I've been an avid theme park fan for as long as I can remember. Back in elementary school, one of my favorite hobbies was to just open up a notebook and try and calculate the expenses of a trip to Disney or Universal or Legoland. I did math in research for fun, and for good reason. Getting to be immersed in the worlds of your favorite media at a theme park is an incredible experience, and I wanted nothing more than to just be able to experience that. However, out of all the theme park knowledge that floods my brain, there is one aspect of the Disney parks in particular that has remained an obsession for me ever since my mother described her vague memories of it to me in a Kroger parking lot in 2015. An attraction shrouded in mystery. An attraction called the Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter. Now, I should stress that I've never actually been on this ride. In fact, it closed before I was born, which is something we'll get into later. So you might be asking yourself, 17-year-old child, what makes you so qualified to talk about this? To which I say, no comment. However, if it is any consolation, I was the highest viewed alien encounter-related post on the Walt Disney World Magic fan forums for a while. A fact that I'm now realizing is not very prestigious, and I probably shouldn't have mentioned it here.
Back in the ancient era of synths and neon lights known as the 80s, the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, Michael Eisner, was convinced that teenagers thought the Disney parks were lame. Disney is definitely always primarily focused on targeting families, especially those with young children, and while they definitely do have some thrilling rides, hardcore thrill seekers have never really been their target audience. But Mr. Eisner had a plan to change that. His first idea was a shooter ride based on a beloved property that would fit right in with the rest of the Disney brand. Alien. As in, you know, this thing. Sounds great. After significant pushback, the idea was tabled, primarily because of, you know, this. However, some of the Disney Imagineers still saw potential in it, especially because Disney was in dire need of something to replace the Mission to Mars attraction in the Tomorrowland section of the park. This group of Imagineers tried to utilize the Alien IP for this replacement, but still received a lot of pushback, which ultimately resulted in George Star Wars Lucas joining the project to make an original story and characters completely unrelated to Ridley Scott's horrifying Alien baby. Thus, the Alien with a capital A was replaced with this alien, and the Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter was born, opening in June 1995.
It's intense, it's terrifying, and it's all in the dark. It's called the Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter.
Guests would begin the experience by watching a short video with an alien lady, played by Tyra Banks, introducing the audience to the alien megacorporation XS Tech and its CEO, Chairman L.C. Clench. They'd also get to hear this absolutely incredible music composed by Richard Bellis, who has worked on quite a few other Disney Parks projects, and, fun fact, this voice is his wife, which is really cool to me. There's also the best slogan for any fictional antagonistic corporation ever.
If something can't be done with excess, then it shouldn't be done at all.
After this video, the ridegoers were filed into a pre-show room wherein a robot named Sir, initially played by Phil Hartman but later replaced with Tim Curry after testing guest reactions, would demonstrate XS Tech's new teleportation tube technology by transporting a small, adorable alien named Skippy,
Also known as my son, who I will defend until the end of time,
from one end of the room to the other.
No, you may not get out. You're a lucky volunteer. In a moment, I will break down our fuzzy little friend into a mass of molecules. The molecules are beamed to the receiving chamber where atom by atom we reconstruct our carefree child.
During this process, Skippy would be horribly charred and disfigured because nothing is sacred. Sir, annoyed with Skippy, would then proceed to suspend him in space indefinitely. After the death of Skippy, the whole audience would be led into a large round theater and sit facing a much larger teleportation tube in the center. Two XS employees named Femus and Spinlock would communicate over TV screens, announcing that one member of the audience would be selected to teleport to their home planet and meet Chairman Clench.
A journey through interstellar space via XS teleportation.
Before that can happen, though, the chairman himself appears and announces that he has changed plans last minute.
If we bring one of you here, well, it's just get to meet one of you. However, if I'm teleported to Earth, I can meet all of you.
This last-minute change throws a wrench into things, causing the teleportation signal to become mixed up and a humongous alien monster to appear in the theater rather than Clench. The insectoid alien would break the glass of the tube, causing the lights to shut off in the auditorium and special effects in each audience member's seat to activate. Moving harnesses, water and air sprayers, and binaural audio gave the illusion that the alien was flying and crawling around the room, licking and breathing on guests, and, horrifyingly, dripping blood from a maintenance worker that the alien would eat. Eventually, the alien would be lured back into the tube, sent back to where it came from, and everyone would leave the attraction traumatized, and wishing they had just gone on Buzz Lightyear instead.
The alien encounter instantly became a source of controversy, with the thrill-seeking audience that Disney had targeted with it loving it, and families not. Despite the countless warnings posted outside the attraction warning that it was very frightening for children and some adults, parents just brought in their kids anyway. The pre-show with Skippy and Sir was even intended as a second parental control filter, so that parents could realize, oh, that cute alien just died. Maybe I shouldn't bring my kid on this attraction.
After just 8 years of operation, the ride closed in October 2003. While it's never been officially stated exactly why it was shuttered, it's most likely due to a combination of the terrified guest reactions and the arrest of Jeffrey Jones, who played Chairman Clench, for terrible crimes which I will not be mentioning here, which Disney did not want to associate themselves with. It was replaced with a more family-friendly Lilo and Stitch-themed version of the ride called Stitch's Great Escape, which basically just reused all the existing assets from the extraterrestrial alien encounter, including, thank God, Skippy, but replaced the giant alien monster with Stitch. This version of the ride was received pretty poorly, and it puttered along until its final day of operation in January 6, 2018. And unfortunately, around this time, photos leaked online of the broken and dismantled animatronics, including Stitch and Skippy. Look what they did to my boy.
And so, those remnants of the alien encounter were tragically gone. We still have the merchandise, though.
The eerie, dark nature of extraterrestrial, especially compared to the rest of Walt Disney World, is so intriguing to me. Many internet short stories and even feature films have tried to capture the idea of adding bloody horror into the happiest place on Earth, but to me, nothing succeeds quite as well as the real instance of it existing there. I finally got to go to Disney World in the summer of 2022. It was a trip that my family had planned for years, and it was a dream come true. I was obviously too late to get to see any version of the alien encounter running, but I did bring a Skippy toy that I found on eBay and took pictures of him in front of the now vacant show building that was once his home, as well as a lot of other locations. It felt strangely fulfilling. Someone bought this thing back in the 90s or 2000s, and 20 years later, some weird kid bought it from them and brought it back to the place it came from because of an oddly specific interest.
Now, look, I'm not going to act like this isn't a very weird thing to be fixated on. To most people, the existence of this attraction does not matter. It didn't even exist for a decade, had little impact on the theme park industry, and most people who went on it only gained nightmares. Even its replacement, the one remaining piece of it, has been destroyed. To put it nicely, people simply do not give a about this thing. But it matters to me. It's inspired a lot of my work. You can probably take any art or character or anything I've made in the past couple years, and I can show you a direct through line in my mind to the alien encounter. And that's why I think the preservation of history is so important. Not just big historical events, but like little things too. No matter how ridiculous or insignificant something seems, whether that's a lost episode of Wow Wow Wubsy or the title screen music from a video game, it meant something to someone. And it can continue to mean something to someone long after its initial creation. We just need to make sure we're still saving the past while seizing the future.